Today, we'll be talking about the three big takeaways from the National Education Policy of 2020. Now, before we go into the takeaways, it's important to understand that the National Education Policy draft for 2020, it's an elaborate document. The entire document is somewhere in the neighborhood of 700 pages, they say, and the summary I had access to was 70 pages of PDF. So it's a very elaborate document. So of course, we'll be doing a lot of videos in the future covering various aspects of the NEP. We won't be covering just a few aspects and that'll be it. But to look at the NEP, we have multiple perspectives. There'll be the perspective of the teachers, of the policymakers, of the ones who are looking at it from an ideological perspective, the ones who perhaps want the revival of local languages and so on. What I will be looking at today is from the perspective of the student because that is the biggest the biggest impact will be on the students who will be helped with the NEP. So I'll be looking at the student perspective today, and I have three major issues to discuss. One is the change in structure from class 1 to 10, and then in 11th and 12th, we are going for a 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 sort of a structure where the focus will be from class 9 to get into subjects to help students choose their subjects. The second would be the proposed changes in the board exams. And the third would be the ABCs that are being spoken about, that is the academic bank of credits. So these are the three aspects I'm going to cover one by one. Now, firstly, let's come to the change in structure, which enables students from class 9 to choose a variety of subjects. Now, what happens right now? Students complete class 8th and class 9th and 10th are all about coaching for maths, science, and even for other subjects, maybe it's social science or English. Class 9th and class 10th. Eventually, class 10, you memorize the entire year. You go to your board exams in February and March. You vomit the knowledge out or perhaps the information out. You secure 80, 90, 95% and move on with life. And plus one is all about medical, non-medical, commerce, and things like that. But the problem with this approach is it does nothing for people who have clarity for what they want to do. The current system, it's great for people who just want a minimum threshold, the ones who are looking to just pass class 10th, have a stamp and move on. But it does nothing for the outliers, the one with clarity. So, for instance, there are a lot of students I come across who are pretty sure they do not want to pursue a career in sciences. So, for them to study science in class 9th and 10th, which is a little advanced to compare to class 8th or class 7th, it's a waste because 2 years later, they're going to get into, 2 years after, they're going to get into commerce in plus one or humanities, and they're never going to look back at science. Similarly, for students who are going to opt for science, studying social sciences may not be that helpful. Studying, for instance, a certain subjects may not be that helpful. So what happens is students end up wasting a lot of time in class 9th and 10th. What the new structure is being suggested by the NEP, that's a good structure because it will enable students in class 9 to choose their subjects along. I'm assuming there'll be some compulsory subjects, say the languages or maths basic, but it'll help them to at least choose two or three subjects, study them across class 9, 10th, 11th, 12th, and then pursue higher education in it. That is one good aspect because it saves students a lot of time. It saves them from the pain of studying subjects they have no intention of studying or pursuing in their higher education or even class 11th and 12th. The second aspect, the changes in the board exams. Now, if you are relatively, even remotely acquainted with someone in your family or neighborhood who studies in the school, all it takes is one guide, which can be from any publisher in the market. All it takes is one guide to predict the question paper of a board exam. It's that simple now, be it for social studies, be it for maths, be it for science. All you need to have is some knowledge about the syllabus, which has not changed from the last 12, 15 years. And the guides now, they have all the questions, be it 6 marks, 4 marks, 2 marks, whatever. They have all the questions, and students and coaching centers are able to predict the questions that will come or the questions that have strong possibility of being asked in the exam. What results in this? You have students memorizing for the entire year certain answers, certain concept, practicing the same things again, just to ensure that they score 95% in class 10th or class 12. There is no learning, nothing at all. And it's been going on for over a decade since I gave my board exam in 2008 and 2010. So it's been going on since then. But there's nothing that has changed really. Now, the new NEP suggests that the students will have an option to choose their subjects. Many of the subjects for which they want to appear in the board exams. Of course, the process will start in class 9 itself. This is a good aspect. So even if we assume that the students are choosing 50% of their subjects, say they appear for 6 board exams, they're choosing 3 of them, they will be more interested in the subject. The questioning would be more interesting. The question can be made more interesting because you know that the students appearing for it are genuinely interested. Instead of what's happening right now, that the idea is to let every student pass class 10th. So this is one very, very significant change being spoken about in the board exams. It's also going to kill the idea of memorization, the rotta learning we have become very familiar with, which has been seen with other entrance examinations also. For instance, 10, 15 years ago, even UPSC you could get through with memorization, but that has changed today. So why not the board exams? Why not make board exams great again, in the sense, make them more credible again? Because right now what is happening, everyone is securing 95, 96%. Everyone is getting 90 plus if they study even for 2 months before the board exams. But in the long run, it means nothing. So this is one aspect that could change. This is a second aspect which the students will feel better about. The third one, the academic bank of credits. Now, this is a revolutionary idea if it's implemented correctly. I'll tell you why. Against abroad, we keep talking about the universities of abroad, the top hundreds. Why are Indian universities not there as prominently? The one aspect we have still not been able to normalize in our higher education is that of students dropping out or students taking a semester break. Now, I've had friends who've studied abroad in some very prominent universities, including Princeton, even University of Texas, and so on. People drop all the time, not to drop to just discontinue their education, but they want to take a break, sometimes for whatever reason. Sometimes someone is ill, someone wants to pursue an internship, and things like that. In India, we still haven't really normalized the idea of extending your graduation tenure or extending or normalizing dropout in that sense. To give an example from a personal experience, I extended my engineering by a few months, and suddenly the idea was very outlandish or very outrageous actually for few people. So what happens with this proposal, the academic bank of credits, students will get exit options. So for instance, if you want to drop out of the first year, you won't waste that 1 year. The credits you have secured by studying or passing the relevant subjects, they'll get added to your portfolio. The subjects you have studied until the second year, and if you exit then, you'll have those added in your portfolio, and so on. So eventually what happens if an engineer, someone who started in the first year of an engineering college, they want to switch to a BCom or a BBA or something in humanities, law, whatever, they'll not lose that 1 year. That 1 year will be added to their portfolio. And it's a good thing to do because often students who want to really drop out of engineering, I'll give a personal example because I've seen a lot of students want to drop out after the first year of engineering. They want to switch to commerce where they feel more inclined, more interested. But they cannot because they fear that 1 year will be wasted and that will have consequences in the future when they want to go for their MBAs or probably abroad or probably for their jobs even. So this is a great example to have academic bank of credits. Why? It will normalize exits in the first or the second year with a diploma and an advanced diploma respectively. It will give students more flexibility to go for a multidisciplinary approach. So students can have 2 years of engineering perhaps, they can have then commerce, they can choose, they can be more flexible with how they want to pursue their higher education. And this is wonderful. This is something, an idea that was long coming and it should have been implemented. What makes this idea even better is the emergence of online education. Now, a lot of universities, they're already offering online education in India. They're offering online courses. You pay and you enroll for a course. These are not free because they're giving you certificates and diplomas. Students can add them to the portfolio. So there's so much flexibility that now we are not just going to create students with fancy degrees, as it happens with a lot of engineers who study in private universities or public universities. We're just not going to associate the importance of higher education with a degree. We're going to go for a complete portfolio, which will have the credits, the subjects a student has studied, and then they can look for relevant skill-based jobs, which are going to be the future. It's not going to be a desk job culture anymore going forward in the 2025, 2030s. It's going to be a skill-based criteria, and this portfolio would really help there. So these are my three big takeaways. If I look from the student perspective, just from the student perspective, why it encourages flexibility, it gives students more freedom with their education, starting from class 9 to their colleges, and most importantly, it kills the conventional memorization and degree collection idea mm, that we have somehow made it so normal, that we have somehow encouraged for so many years. If India is to indeed become a 5 trillion economy, and if indeed we are to be proud of the youth population we have, we need to give them the flexibility to learn, because the better they learn, the better they research, and the better results you will see in the professional workspaces. As a former student myself, I cannot wait to see what these three critical reforms usher for students who are going to join the schools and colleges later this year. Thank you so much.